so these new soft beads have just come out over the past few years, and there's been a few different methods of pegging them. There's some cheaper ones out there that I typically, sometimes what I like to do is I like to just hook the soft bead, slide it on my line about 4 or 5 inches, and then re-hook the soft bead again, and then pull it down. And what that does is that keeps it in place above my hook. And then when I set the hook on a fish, the line tears the soft bead apart, and you just have just a hook on your line, no bead anymore. Super effective, but when you're paying $6 a pack or $5 a pack or $4 a pack even for a good quality soft bead, it costs a lot of money to run those, to do that. So I typically, after doing that for a little while, I went to these little tiny red beads for pegging the soft plastic beads, and they were just like a 2mm bead that you put up your line, and you could either do a small knot or you could just wrap it 3 times through it, and then you would hook your soft bead and slide it up and over, and they look beautiful. You had a nice translucent egg with a nice little blood dot inside. But the problem I was really having with that is every time I set the hook, or after a few drifts and heavy current, it started sliding down to my hook, and it was getting really frustrating. So I was gluing them and everything else, and it was still a problem even after the super glue. So I'm in Washington last year, and I'm walking down the aisle, I'm looking at what they do out there, and I see these big giant gumball sized beads, and I look in the package and I see like a bobber stop type of thing. And I've used bobber stops in the past, and a lot of the bead manufacturers suggest a small little rubber bobber stop to stop the bead from sliding down to your hook. And it's nice because it doesn't damage, there's no wraps or anything like that going around the bobber stop. It's just a nice little a little teardrop piece that you could slide up and down your line with no damage at all. And the soft bead would rest above that bobber stop. And it was really effective, it works good, but there's even a better system out now. And what would happen with that small teardrop bead is you would get a lot of times after that soft bead would slide down and push it down to the hook, that little teardrop would start losing its ability to stick to the line, and it would be really easy to start pulling it down. So you'd have to cut the hook off and put a new stop on there, and it got to be kind of a headache. But this is what I believe is the best current method right now, are these T-stops that are out by B&R Tackle. Alright, so I'll show you guys how I start up rigging these things. And these I really like, if you're planning on fishing these a lot, pre-tie your leaders, and because when you get out in the cold it makes it really tough to constantly be changing this thing, but they work really, really well. I mean, next to jigs and next to eggs and stuff, the soft beads are going to be your best option. So I'll show you how these T-stops work. It looks like I took the one out of this. And there's a whole slew of colors. There's a lot of good manufacturers of soft beads. Some of the best ones are B&R. There's Death Row, that's made right over here just past Rochester, New York. He makes incredible beads. And they're soft plastic, but I really prefer the B&Rs because number one, they come with the T-stop. Number two, they have a hole molded in them so they slide down your line real easy. You don't got to get a hook involved where you're hooking them and sliding them up or down or anything like that. They're really easy to change out. He's got great colors. And when I'm looking for a soft bead, I want it to sink just like a natural egg. I don't want it to, you could tell really junky soft beads because they're really soft and squishy. They also melt inside little boxes. I don't know if you guys have ever had a rubber worm melt inside of a plastic box. The reaction's unbelievable. It's like it turns to liquid and it melts the box and melts a worm. It's a pain. Those clear drift beads tend to do that a lot, but the higher end beads really don't. So you got Death Row, you got B&R, you got Steelhead Stalker. Those are all really good quality soft beads, really good for what we do. They're all worth checking out, but B&R has the hole in them, and they have anything from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They go by single millimeters. And I really like the 9 millimeters. These guys are 9s. I'll pass this around a little bit because it's right in the size of 8 and 10. And now I don't need to bring 2 packs with me. I'm confident in the 8 and the 9. Death row is nice because they make the 6mm bead, and if I'm going to bird or oak and I'm fishing for those really spooky browns and steelhead that have been pressured a lot, and the brown trout are spawning, they really hone in on those real small yellow and orange 6mm beads. So that's a lot of times I like fishing those. Striking out with T-stops here, so let's see here we go. All right, I'll pass these around a little bit. So these are the T-stops. They look just like a bobber stop, except they have a little cup or a little flat spot at the bottom, and that stops the soft bead from going down to your hook. They're really effective. They're nice and soft. It's just like pegging a regular hard bead, but they have that little stopper, so the soft bead has the give, and it tends to pop over top sometimes. But I'll show you what I like to do. So typically I start off with a nice fresh leader. So this is right off the spool. When I start off with a leader, typically I like to do an arm length leader so I'm consistent. You take your T-stop, and just like a bobber stop, you put it through the wire. And you fold your line, and you slide the T-stop right over the end of it, and you're left with just the T-stop on your line. Now, if you're going to use these T-stops right out of the package, you got to remember that you can't do them on a leader that's already tied. Because if I had a barrel swivel up on this side and I went to thread these T-stops on, they would come upside down if I threaded it on with a swivel attached to the top. So you really want to use a fresh piece of leader when you're rigging these. And again, this is a 9mm mottled clown. I really like eggs and egg sacs and beads that have multiple colors in them, because I feel like I don't feel like, I know this for sure, the multiple colors really helps with having the fish react to the bait. So if like yellow's working really good, or white's working real good, or pink, it's really awesome to have a multi-color bead because you have all that contrast going. And if fish are missing color, they'll always pick up on contrast. So I was getting off topic here. So I basically took my soft bead, I slid it down from the top of my fluorocarbon, the side that the barrel swivel is going to go on, and now I'm going to slide it down up and over this little peg here. Once it's on that peg, I'm going to get to the appropriate size, or I could just tie a hook on from here, which I'll do. So for a 9mm, like I said, I've been running the size 8 lately, and I've been doing really good. The typical hook I like to run with beads is a wide gap straight eye hook. So there's the Blood Run tail out hooks, there's the Gamakatsu C14s, which is called the glow bug hook, and there's a really nice new hook out from Trocar. I'm not a huge Eagle Claw fan or Trocar lover, but they just came out with a glow bug style hook that only goes to a size 6, but you got a nice wide gap and a lot of room for you to hook a fish once you have a bead rigged. The wider gaps are nice because if you're fishing an egg sac on your hook, or if you have a bead slide down to the hook, there's still a lot of hook surface area for you to fight the fish. A lot of times when you're running a bait right on the hook and you hook a fish, if you're running really super hard eggs, or the bead slides down to the hook and on the hook, you're fighting a fish with something on that hook. And a lot of times the fish are able to shake their head because they're only hooked by a little portion of the hook rather than the whole entire thing. So the knot I typically like to run is I like to run an advanced clinch knot. And there's guys that will say, oh my God, that's a bad knot to run with fluorocarbon because it creates heat, whatever. I've been running this knot for 35 years I've been running this knot, and it's been consistent for me. The only thing I'll tell you with fluorocarbon is you have to make sure that you lubricate it with spit so you're able to slide it down and not create heat. Like really take your time when you're tying this knot. You can use a Palomar knot, or you could use, there's a lot of new knots out there that work really, really well. I saw one the other day that was like a clinch knot, but you went through the eye of the hook 2 times, and it was really helpful. So once I started this, I'm gonna really make sure I put a lot of saliva on it, and I'm gonna use my fingernails to kind of just work this hook right down at the top of the hook. Make sure I wipe this off real good so when I pass this around, you guys don't get grossed out. Alright, so I got my hook tied on now, I got my bead tied on, I'm ready to rock and roll here. Now I just gotta put my swivel on. So the swivel I like to run is, you wanna go as small as you possibly can where you can see it and tie it, but something that has a higher breaking strength. So what you'll find is a lot of the barrel swivels that are really tiny and micro out there, there's high quality ones and then there's junky ones. The best thing you can do when you buy a swivel is to try to buy one that has a pound rating on the package. So when you're selecting your swivels, if you find a size 14, really look and see if there's a pound rating on there. The P-line ones, a size 14, break at 7 pounds, and they're about $3 a pack or $2 a pack. And then the owner ones at a size 14 break at 30 pounds. So I can't tell you how important it is to make sure you have a good swivel. I've had quite a few swivels lately pull apart on me. So buying a good one is important. Another good brand, Blood Run, makes a really nice swivel. There's this company called Hytina. They make a good new one that I've been carrying lately. Alright, so at the top of, when I put my barrel swivel on, I'm going to use the exact same knot that I used at the hook. The only difference between this knot and the knot at the hook is I'm going to twist this more times than I did at the hook. So if I did 7 twists for my clinch knot at the hook, I'm going to go 10 twists up here. And the reason I like to do that is because it seems like the more twists there are, the stronger that knot is. And when you get snagged or you break off on a fish, it'll typically break off at the bottom of your leader and you can just retie a hook on there. Okay, so I got my swivel on. I'm ready to go to my main line now. I'm all set, ready to rock and roll there. I got my 8-pound fluorocarbon, I got my bead pegged, and now I got my size 8 hook. I'm ready to fish. You got to find the appropriate length, and I've talked to some guys that like to be 4 fingers away, some guys like to be 1 inch away. My rule of thumb is I like 2 fingers like this, 2 fingers away. It's typically what I like. Okay, so that's about 2 fingers. You guys could check out these T-stops. I'm going to do another one for you guys real quick where if you broke off the T-stop and the bead, had to put on a new bead by reversing the T-stop. I'm going to do that for you next. But here's a soft bead with a T-stop. The other cool thing B&R has is they have this scent system that you can stick a little, it almost looks like a worm blower. It's like a little syringe point that's connected to a bottle of scent, and they have this little applicator that you stick into the bead and you squeeze it, and it fills the bead up with salmon egg juice. So as the bead's drifting, it has a nice milk trail. I'm a big fan of scent with everything I do. I know guys catch fish on freshly painted beads and they feel like it doesn't matter, but I'd rather have any scent on it rather than paint and plastic and human scent. So I feel like anything is good. Lately I've been running, a friend of mine, his name is Duke. His name is Duke, he's from Washington. He made this krill and sand shrimp paste, and I've been really liking this stuff lately, so thanks a lot, Duke. So now I'm going to rig up like I'm going to show you how I changed the bead, and I'm going to show you how if I broke off on the bead, what I would do, how I would rig it up. Okay, so let's say that this has a swivel on it here. Let's say you break off and you still have this nice piece of fluorocarbon in, and you need to start at the bottom instead of starting at the top. Hopefully you guys bought a couple packs of these T-stops, or you bought just one bulk pack of them, and it will come with multiple little T-stops. You need 2 different T-stops to do this. So typically what you do is you just take one of the empty wires, you thread it through on the other T-stop, and you fold it just like you fold your line. And then I'm just going to reverse one of these T-stops upside down onto another peg. Now what's nice about doing that is, like I said, you don't have to don't have to cut from the top and redo this. You could just slide one on if you're still connected to your barrel swivel. The one thing I will tell you is it's the opposite in progression, so you want to make sure you remember to slide a bead up first. So now I'm going to select a 9mm, this is called Yeller Feller. It's a yellow mottled purple bead. So I'm going to slide that up my fluorocarbon first. I'll show you guys how I swap these two. Okay, so I just slid my bead up from the bottom up. Now I'm going to use my reverse T-stop on there. The hardest part about doing this reverse T-stop is that you have to try to spread the little wire that's on there. It's not too terribly difficult to do, but I wish I could show you guys this close up. But if you come to the booth, I could show you guys how I do it. Okay, so I got that. It's just spread that wire that I reversed it on. Now I'm going to put the upside down T-stop up my main line, or up my fluorocarbon, and there it is. The T-stop's in reverse. So now at this point, now I'm just going to slide down my bead, redo my bead, and then I'll just put on a new hook at this point. And I'll show you guys how I change the colors in a second too. So we need a swivel. I don't know what I would do without my third hand, which is my mouth when I'm fishing. Okay, so I tied a new hook on. I'd be ready to rock and roll normally. Slide that down 2 fingers away, and now I just re-rigged if I'm attached to the swivel. I'm going to put a swivel on this anyways because I want to show you guys how I change the soft beads out. So if I know I'm going to an area where I'm going to use a lot of different color soft beads and I'm going to experiment a lot, I typically will run a really small snap, or I'll run a little fast snap connector at the bottom of my main line in place of a barrel swivel. So I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a little snap swivel that it isn't a whole entire swivel, it's just a snap. I don't have any of those on me, but just imagine it's a little clip at the bottom of your main line that you're able to snap a swivel in and you're ready to go. And it really helps for guys that have all these pre-tied leaders just to put on a new color bead. They go in. This is how I have all my stuff pre-tied. I have it in a bag, and I have it on a little board here with a swivel and everything. Got my shot and everything already on there. If you're sliding soft beads down, you wouldn't want that shot on there. You just want to have your swivels and your hooks and everything ready to rock and roll on this. That's how I do my leaders. There's lots of different ways. There's different cylinders. This product is from Fish Eng Products. It's Fisheng. He makes really good leader boards and stuff like that. All right, so changing my soft bead, typically what I like to do is I like to go from the bead up. So this way I'm not going down and spreading the bead and having to take it over the bobber stop. These beads all have holes in them, so all you have to do is just slide this bead up, go right through your barrel swivel, grab yourself a different color bead. Put the swivel right through the molded hole. And instead of going up and over your hook, now you don't have this big giant hole in the middle of your bead. You still have this nice tight fit to your T-stop. And there you go, I just changed that color, super duper easy. So when you're ready to do this, now like I said before, I like to run a couple split shots here. That can get in the way if you can do that. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do it the opposite way, and I'll actually change the bead from the bottom. This is the best way to do it, in my opinion, if you're gonna change a lot of beads. Just run shorter leaders and have smaller shot on the bottom end of your main line, if you're gonna use that clip system I was talking about. But if you're gonna be running, beads and bags and everything in combination, I do like to have a couple small split shot in here. And when I want to change a bead color, what I do is I'll slide that T-stop down to the hook, and I roll the bead in my hand. You have to be real careful when you do this because you can roll that bead off it and hook your fingers. So just kind of roll that bead over the hook. I just rolled that bead off, and I'm left with just a T-stop and the hook at this point. And I'll go in from the bottom, I'll grab a different bait. And you could use any soft plastic beads with this T-stop. You just have to hook the bait first.
What's the closest you run the shot to the bead?
I'll go 6 inches sometimes. I get really close, depending on how fast that current is. So now with this system, if you're hooking a soft bead and you're trying to go over top of the T-stop, which I don't suggest because it stretches the bead out, but it does work, you have to stop that T-stop from sliding up your line. The T-stop has to stay in place. So there's 2 ways of doing that. You could simply slide the T-stop up to your barrel swivel or your split shot, something that's going to hold it there. And you slide the bead up to that T-stop and you just roll the bead on the T-stop till it pops through. And now I'm ready to rock and roll again. So, any other questions, guys? That's a soft bead deal. All right, I think we went over an hour, but thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for filming.
No problem.
You guys are the best. Stop by. I'll give you a bobber or
Okay.
something.